Welcome back to the second night of week 2 for the ANZHGC. We've already had one best-of-3 series with the reigning champions Mindfreak taking down Aztec convincingly in a 2-0 back-to-back series. But now we're into the second half of the night. That's right, it's Crimson taking on the newly promoted Pleb2Pro with a bit of a twist. Team Captain Moops still not available, so they are going to be relying on some fancy creative role swaps to make things happen for them. But I'm sure they're still going to have that competitive spirit fired up and ready to rock and roll. Vandy, looking forward into this next series, is there anything in particular that springs to mind or any sort of talking points or discussions you'd like to go forward with?
I guess in terms of Crimson, we are expecting this match to be favoured on the side of Crimson. This is something that they should win, but we have seen upsets happen before. Pleb2Pro, they're still a strong team. We saw them promote from Open back into Premier Division. A lot of those players, they do have a lineup of a lot of players who've been around for quite some time, a wealth of experience there, but without your team captain, as you said, role changes have been necessary, and that's something even you touched on a little bit on the side of Mindfreak, where it doesn't happen overnight. These things take time.
They do definitely take some time, and time is something that can be a little bit fragile when it comes to the ANZHGC. With only a finite amount of time before those weeks go on by, you versed everybody, and you find yourself in a spot where, well, you miss maybe the first and second by just that one result when things didn't align so properly. The prize pool for this year, $80,000, or for this phase, $80,000. Once again, a fantastic amount of money that all these teams can walk away with. First spot picking up $16,000 to their name. Not a bad bit of chunk of change, not to mention the ability to go across. Well, this time, we're not going to be going across to Brazil, but they're going to be coming to us in September to Sydney for another LAN, and this time, qualification for one team to be sent to BlizzCon. The tournament of all tournaments, wouldn't you say?
Exactly right. And also, I mean, we did see Mindfreak, or Nomi as they were previously known at the time, just miss out by the slimmest of margins in an upset caused by team captain Moops leading Darksided. So it was a little bit of that upset and a little bit of that shake-up, and Mindfreak, they were just devastated by that result to just go so well during the season and just miss out on the finals by the slimmest of margins. That's why we've really seen Mindfreak just go from strength to strength this year and just be so dominating. In phase 1, Skimmy, they did not drop a single match to anybody until towards the finals week. Yeah,
I mean, vengeance really was theirs, right? I mean, I spoke to him, if you saw the interview I had with Fallon before, just in terms of his whole mentality about what happened there and how they bounced back as a result. And a lot of this just stems down to just being truly open and honest with your team members. I mean, if you don't have that level of authenticity, I feel like you are going to have these massive breakups. And when we talk about roster apocalypses in ANZ Heroes of the Storm, it is a global trend. You see it every single split in North America, in Europe, Korea, wherever it may be. So, I mean, let's be honest, video gaming is still very new, especially in a scene as infant as ours. It's going to be a lot more fragile with the potential sponsors and salaries and the rest of it not at the same level as those major regions. And, they definitely came back. They had those heart-to-hearts, those conversations. They had a manager brought in. They practiced. They utilized drafts. And they just, every single step of the way, up until that point at the clash against Crimson, just straight steamrolled members.
Yeah, and it just came to the clash where really we saw it go to the final game and to decide it all, and Crimson missing out by the tiniest of margins, but even they weren't really deterred by that. And that's also the Crimson that we've seen bounce back. As I said, in phase number 1, we saw them drop a couple of games. We're saying, should they be dropping these? Like, not at all. We're expecting them to win versus these teams. So a couple of upsets didn't just happen to Crimson, happened to a couple of other Premier Division teams, but these are really, I guess it's setting the foundation. If we can lose to these teams, well, what does that tell us? Like, we just need to make sure that we take every game as serious as the next. And then if we do lose, let's learn from it. Let's take as much out of it as possible. I think that's really what a lot of the Premier Division teams have been doing quite well. And that's why I'm just so excited for phase number 2. Yes, we've had lots of players swap and chop and change, but with that as well, they've been done for a reason. It's to give the team the best chance of winning this time around.
Speaking of winning and speaking of success, I do see a Moops in the lobby. So I had a quick word with him before, and I quote, 14 gig download on Aussie internet. Good luck, have fun. So, it looks like he's managed to bounce back, potentially went to an internet cafe, stole some internet.
No, Skimmy. This is where you bring out the mobile hotspot story. I think we're due for one.
How big are your Aussie phone plans? I mean, ours suck.
Yeah, I suck too. I think only recently you can get unlimited, but it still costs an arm and a leg.
So we do unlimited, right? We have an unlimited plan in New Zealand, but the catch is you can't hotspot it. So there goes your entire argument about just juicing your internet and being like, well, who cares?
Dear. Well, if anyone in chat has questions for phone salesman Skimmy over here, I mean, he'll hook you up with the best deals, right?
I mean, I haven't actually been to work in a long, long time. I'm just trying to pursue this esport dream as much as I can. I'll be, gradually dressing down. Maybe one day I'll have some dirty washing and people say, like,
dressing down as in like stripping? Because you can go to Blaze's bunker for that.
I probably could. I mean, it's like strip poker, but strip pots. Every single time somebody feeds, take a piece of clothing off.
Jeez. Just in terms of why the game hasn't started yet, guys, we are just missing one member of Team Pleb2Pro. We're just trying to track and locate where this person has been, as are probably the rest of the team. So that's why we haven't just yet started, but we're trying to still get this underway and hopefully shouldn't be too much longer.
That's why I had to tolerate some of my poor dad jokes and my...
and my poor sense of humor. Boo!
But, yeah, obviously going forward into this one, phase 2, it's a brand new start for a lot of these teams. You've got some brand new rosters with some roster shuffles we discussed before. We spoke about Aztec and how they managed to pick up some members from Downfall in particular and how they bolstered their squad and made it a lot stronger. A lot of these teams actually did have some roster swaps. We saw Outlaws disband. Outlaws now, for the most part, is made up by Twisted Vision. They've picked up some new members as well. So it's interesting to see. We discussed the growing pains for Mind Freak, but a lot of these teams, I don't think we have a single team in this entire, as I scroll through my spreadsheet to look at these rosters, I don't think we have a single roster here that has retained the exact same amount of players. It's been a case of off-season, you're a free agent, you don't like your current setup, let's have you.
Exactly right. And something as well, like we played the season, we think we can improve somehow, we need a better tank, or we feel like we're lacking this spot, let's try and pick someone up. So Mindfreak almost managed to go through unscathed with, unfortunately, Penta leaving to pursue a couple of other opportunities and then bringing Mad Hacks into the fray. But otherwise, they were mostly going to be the roster that stayed the same. But Pleb2Pro as well, they did pick up Konya from Downfall, as well as Baxtermonium, formerly known as Lahal, from Outlaws.
Baxtermonium, aka Pandemonium. It's like a cute couple now.
It is a very cute couple. I was noticing that. That's just hashtag couple goals right there.
They need to bring back their team league synergy, right? We need some A&Z team league nights where we can actually represent those, get some tags on.
Well, we also need some caster synergy. So maybe, we should make like some Scandies, some Vimmies.
Some Vimmies, some Scandies. One sounds like a drug, the other sounds like a drink. But whatever it might be, I hope you enjoy it because it looks like we're going to get ourselves underway in just a second. It's Pleb2Pro, the brand new newcomers to the Premier Division, up against old-time favourites Crimson on Cursed Hollow. And I am looking forward to this one, Vandy, for the sole reason that this one tests macro. We saw what Dragonshire achieves in terms of communication, but this one is more so about setting up things quite nicely. We saw on Battlefield of Eternity, they set up things quite nicely with the Shaman camp. And Mindfreak steamrolled the game from a result as a game plan. Sort of same happened on Dragonshire as well. On a map like this, mercenaries make up at least half of the map. So you're looking to really dictate that. And once again, 2 bosses.
It's just going to be all-out havoc. And, I mean, just as we were saying in terms of Dragonshire really favouring Mindfreak, having that experience and able to play on maps like this, same thing goes for Crimson, just having that experience to really just come out and force those rotations, as well as just when they do see that tribute, try and take those camps to really maximise the impact that they can have. Okay, if we're going to force your attention here, what other lane value can we get? And I'm expecting as well globals always come out to play on this map. So looking to see which team really wants to go and pick up, say, that Tahaka or even the ETC with the stage dive in the flavour of the month as well.
I'd love to see some more stage dive. We saw a little bit of it from some of the regions. I saw a lot of it actually coming out of the SEA region. I was doing my study for them. And why? I mean, if you run your mind back a little bit, right, it's going to sound super like a counseling session, but why do different regions have such different distinct ideas about what is strong and what is not, right? And is maybe a region more predominantly focused on macro? I think you can make an argument that maybe say that's very prevalent in the side of Europe, and Korea is very well known for their aggression, as is China. I mean, I don't even know where ANZ stand amongst all the things, because we have our own meta. We definitely have our own meta, but a lot of that comes down to comfort picks. So there may be a meta of, this is a tier 1 hero, but I just don't play it. So I'm just going to, I don't know, play like Kel'Thuzad or something, right?
Yep, but since he's my comfort hero and I do so well, I know the ins and outs of him, I actually make Kel'Thuzad look good versus my region because, as you said, comfort picks can actually sometimes outweigh the whole tier classing of some heroes. And funny, even you just saying some of the pros just being like, oh, I like Muradin, and everyone else is saying, no, it's all about that Blaze train right there or the Garrosh train. And it's like, well, I'm going to continuously pick my Muradin and deck people with it. So it's all about, we see the metas come and we see them clash and we always see them change because that's the really exciting thing about this game. Like, you think one hero's strong, another one comes out, or the meta shifts. We had double support for a while, which was pretty wild, and I think a lot of players really hated that, myself included.
We saw glimpses of it come back at the MSB.
Oh, yeah, I saw that. And luckily
yuck.
it didn't work out very well, so I was like, good, it's dead for a reason.
My Vala, she didn't get those wins. You know, I had to vote for her every single time, and I voted with my heart, but I voted in a matchup where she just was not going to win. Crimson starting off here on Curse Hollow for game one of the second best of three on the night with the first pick and the first ban, meaning that Pleb2Pro would have chosen this map. So they're looking to say, hey, we're at full strength. We do have moops in now. We want to dictate map control. And we want to show you that, you know, your pressure, your skill can be equaled by minions.
Look at that. Global pressure taken away instantly in terms of Crimson Gaming, banning out that the Haka. So big respect coming out. And just really knowing that if given that first pick, so they're not really wanting to run it themselves, but they also don't want Pleb2Pro to take it away from them.
They don't indeed. A few different ways you can go into this banning phase. You can just try and target down those globals as much as you like. Falster doesn't really seem like a warranted ban, but an Abathur does spring to mind because Abathur does a lot on this map, as well as empower certain heroes. If you're talking kill comps, Genjis, Greymanes, Tracers, that hat does a lot of work to empower them that much further. But with Malfurion taken off the boards and Maiev and Genji available, the idea definitely presents itself for a clean pick. We know that Azure loves to play the Genji and is very comfortable in doing so if they decide to go down that route. But other options that could spring to mind would be in the global department. I mean, it's very early on to pick up the file set. I've seen it happen before. You could potentially go for a Blaze here just with some reliable shutdown potential. You got the wave control. You got the ability to then prevent any burst with the bunker. But Crimson are using their time and they're considering things. They do, in the end,
locking that
go with the Abathur.
Going with the slug. And it's really funny that we were touching base on the Abathur. Something that we've really seen ANZ struggle to deal with is mostly touching into the European meta. We can copy some of the Chinese meta, we can take bits from the European and the NA meta, but we seem to really dislike playing the Abathurs, playing the Medivhs, playing these sorts of heroes where really it's all about those micro decisions and that micro gameplay. So to finally see, though, in phase one, towards I think about midway through the season, we've started to see Abathur start to get picked up in our region, especially on maps like Curse Hollow, where he can be such a make or break pick. And it's something just really nice to see that ANZ is starting to soak in the global meta. It's not all about, as you said, Skimmy, comfort picks anymore. It's also about seeing what is everyone else doing overseas. Let's try and take some of that success and bring it back here.
And that's it. You know, definitely there's a reason why these other teams overseas get so much success, because they have a far greater understanding through their sheer diligence of just playing and playing and playing to understand what is strong and what is not. And there's a reason why this hero gets picked over others, right? So it's always exciting when you see teams drafting in such a calculated manner like this. The Abathur coming out as a first pick here could have been a Hanzo. I mean, there's definitely nothing to say that the Hanzo, which eluded my mind before, much the same as Battlefield of Eternity, would allow them then just to say, we are going to win boss after boss after boss. Curse, not the end of the world, but by having this Abathur, the Tracer is a much more attractive option. So they're going to go for that one here, which seemed quite likely, given that Sonya and Genji are the power picks from Pleb2Pro, just to try and body through whatever front line is thrown against them.
Well, it's very interesting. I was thinking about the Tracer. This isn't really one of her optimal maps just because there's so many tight corridors. She only really gets some value when it's a bigger open area, so she can really pull off those flanks and have a lot more I guess, safety in terms of how she'd like to play. She still does work, and I know Azure is confident enough to make her work, but I was thinking he would have liked to go for the Genji. So I do like that Pleb2Pro took that away from him and then did force him onto the Trace. And now, paired with the Abathur, he's still going to be someone to really watch and look for, but I feel like this isn't one of her best maps. So by already forcing Azure onto that, it's an interesting choice by Pleb2Pro, and I hope it works out for them.
of the best maps, but definitely finds a lot of value in regards to, once again, that Battlefield of Eternity analogy. What are they going to go for in terms of a ban? Are they looking to take out a solo laner or a support? They do stick to the true and trusted in Rhaegar. In his old format, does still have a lot of value, but a big reason he's fallen off in comparison to a lot of these other supports is for the fact that he doesn't offer as much utility. Forced to go into that wolf form to try and get value, and forced to, I suppose, put up with a very small AoE slowing totem compared to what you're seeing coming out from Stukovs and Malfurions and Deckard Canes. So interesting to see him go that direction, but looking to try and target, especially target healing heroes that can aid this Tracer.
It's really like big respect band coming out for that Rhaegar as well. He does fill that niche, similar to as I was saying with that Kharazim. Rhaegar really did used to be the go-to, especially when we saw tanks reign supreme. If you had the higher the health pool, the better. You pop out that Ancestral. In fact, Vanilla, probably I think one of the region's best Rhaegars that I've seen. Just those clutch Ancestrals time after time, just turning team fights completely. But that just really does show Pleb2Pro, they don't really want to have that second life, that second wind coming out, especially when you do see that Muradin to also then give him the Ancestral Healing. We already saw Fat 94 with 9 lives. That's exactly what they don't want a repeat of.
The Garrosh is a fantastic ban as well. It would just give them so many power picks. Point control would be unbelievably strong and would make it very, very difficult for the Tracer to get amongst it. But speaking of difficulty, Johanna is the next best pick. Those blinds will spell disaster for Azure's ability to jump on in. He's going to have so many threats at him. Not only that, but the Kharazim. Kharazim is being picked up once again, but not so much for the 7-sided strike ability, although that may be an idea. We'll have to see how the rest of this draft comes into play. But just for his ability just to dash in and actually get onto the Trace and say, look, you don't have as much free reign as you would like otherwise.
So just by looking at the priority of Kharazim tonight, already that indicates to me that players, they're soaking up a little bit of that intel that they got from Mid-Season Brawl, as well as what they've tried with these compositions to get that dive to go in with Genji, as well as when we know kind of the standard composition that we've got now, as I said, by giving yourself that tanky frontline, Kharazim is really just shooting up in terms of the flavor of the month for ANZ here, and I'm really interested to see, even after the tournament realm patch catches up to live, will we still see prioritization coming out on that Kharazim?
Definitely will, in terms of the niche that he fulfills. If you're going to go for a burst support, kind of parallel that to an Uther. Fantastic. Speaking of, there is the Uther.
There he is.
You know, you're not playing like a Rhaegar or a Malfurion where you want to play for sustain. You've got a Sonya, Genji, and a Johanna. You're looking to get in. As soon as that Condemn lands, expect to see Swift Strike straight in there. Like, they're looking to just try and get these fights done as quickly as possible so that the healing output is a null factor because you're dead. So I like what they're achieving. I feel like it is definitely going to stay around. The response here, it had to be Blaze, quite honestly. They needed some form of re-engage and some survivability because otherwise they were just going to get face rolled. And the Uther as well to give them some armor should be a major deciding factor if the Shadow can actually time his cooldowns effectively.
There's just so much on the side of Crimson in terms of that survivability now. Trace is going to be their main damage output, and this draft is a little bit familiar in terms of what we saw Aztec drafting on Dragonshire. As we saw, we had that one primary damage dealer, so in this case, not the Phoenix, the Tracer. And really, all the eggs are in that basket to carry and keep her alive, keep her safe, and we'll just let her get that pick and force a fight from there. But also on the side now of Pleb2Pro, you can see they do have now the double reset duo. So if they get that one pick, Schemy, that's really all it's going to take in terms of just dominating the team fights.
A very aggressive composition here from Pleb2Pro. The double reset comp, as you've coined it, and as we've coined it and seen it, the old B-sod comp, because you get so angry, you smash your computer and you log off.
We want none of that, though, Schemy. We need these computers in ANZ. We have enough. We've got earthquakes in New Zealand. We've got just constant like internet droppage in Australia. So we don't want B-sod computers as well.
But it brings in a very interesting point, right? They realize that they don't want to have a jigsaw kind of wonky composition by trying to draft a global. I mean, they could have gone for a Falstad potentially. I feel like it would have been quite weak, honestly. But they could have gone to that to try and match the Abathur and hunt him down, but just try and keep up with that XP. But they've said, no, look, okay, Abathur is going to find some value in that soaking lane. We're just going to admit defeat in that regard. But if they come in with this Tracer and look to try and force a fight, we have to get kills to even that XP advantage. Because if we don't, then once again, I feel like we have a very similar story where if the reset comp doesn't find kills, they just flat out lose.
Exactly right. Drafting for the team fight is Pleb2Pro, and then drafting for the macro is going to be Crimson. Crimson as well. We've really seen them plan that draft out even from the beginning. So the Dahaka already hinting to what they were going to do here by taking away the global offered to Pleb2Pro. It really then also just forced them to be like, okay, well, you can pick the Falstad, but we've already seen your first couple picks. It's not really going to synergize as well as, say, just opting for that team fight. So it also just dictated their draft to some extent.
That it did indeed. As we load up into the game, it's Cursed Hollow, game number 1 here. As we see Crimson taking on Pleb2Pro. Game brought to you by McDonald's Australia. Starting it off with the left-hand side, it is Crimson. Actually, no, it is Pleb2Pro. And they're in blue, matching colours. I like this, matching colours for both these teams. Pleb2Pro, yeah. Led by Firstly, playing Sonya. Konya on Johanna, subbing in for Vikarak. Physics on Genji. Moops, making his debut in the Premier Division on Karazim. And Encore, known as Mitzi, on Leeming.
Just like their name says, we've got Crimson decked out in the red with Haki playing Tracer, Jesmez on Blaze, Azure is playing the Abathur, as well as Kavia on Muradin and Shadow on Uthus. So already there, Skimmy, I was expecting it was going to be Azure's Tracer, but no, we've got Haki. Yeah, Haki playing it. And I guess to some extent that does make sense because with Abathur, once you get the ultimate evolution, you are going to be playing the Tracer. You just have to wait a little bit longer.
Either way, it works on out, and Haki, look at the amount of raw damage that he is going to take to the face right there. It's going to be a rough one, but the ability or the build that Azure has gone for is the flavor of the month right now, where the symbiote, when you put that hat on, it is going to start to heal members up. It only heals the members, it heals the lane minions, it gives you movement speed later down the line. It has so much utility and plays into this idea that this is, in essence, a double support hyper carry composition. If you don't know what that means, it literally means watch Haki, because it's going to be all on him to make things happen.
Watch Haki, and also you can watch the mini-map to see where the hat lands as well, because we know whoever Azure is hatting, they're going to have a lot of empowered usefulness coming out in terms of adding on to that hero. But already, in terms of what we can see Pleb2Pro doing, they're trying to really expose the weakness of Abathur in this early game is that you are sacrificing that 5th member in lane. Hang on here though, Moops, he's dropping very, very low.
Oh, the pulse bomb not on the member he wants. It doesn't even matter though. KBA rocks into the fight. He's going to look for the Stormbolt. Konya going to get stunned in place. No Iron Skin, no chance to run away. But he is beefy in his nature and will live to fight on another day as the burrow goes on through. Azure keeping up with that XP. Is going to soak the middle lane. Laws of Hope picked up here on level 1 for Johanna, opting for the passive regeneration as well as the ability to gain some of that health back. We saw a bit of a meta unfold overseas with members going for the increased Iron Skin shielding amount for that burst protection. Could have come into play to prevent the Tracer Bomb, but you'd imagine that Pulse Bomb isn't going to be the major talking point for a hero like that when you've got the likes of Genji and Leeming to try and take you out.
There's just a lot of damage that we can see Pleb2Pro being able to bring. It did go a little bit wrong for them in terms of just overstepping in that bottom lane. However, they were still able to push down that front wall and get a little bit of that experience happening for them. So the early game kills, we know it doesn't count for too much. At the most, it's just kind of like going to be a mental thing. But as long as you've got bodies in the lane circuit, you're not going to miss out too much.
Gather tribute and earn my favor.
Very first tribute going to be spawning in that top lane. Both teams have picked up their giants quite nicely. A small lead for Crimson, as theirs will be in the bottom lane, which gives Pleb2Pro a bit of a dilemma. Dilemma being, do we clear it? Or do we just go straight to the lane? They are going to go for the clear, and that means they are going to have less bodies to try and contest. But Haki with that hat has fulfilled a roaming role, much the same as Genji will be doing on the side of Pleb2Pro, keeping these members delayed. And look at the rotations. He's forced both Leeming and Johanna to respond in such a weird route.
Yeah, to go completely a different route because they don't want to get picked off, and also to stall how fast Konya was able to join the rest of these team members. They even stayed for a little bit more experience in that middle lane. And KVA, he's just trying to lead the fray now and just start to get some intel.
Very well. Despite the aggressive comp that Crimson have, they can play this one as slowly as they like, because all the while, look at bottom lane. Azure is physically body soaking. That means he's getting XP just from sitting there. If they can find kills, though, it goes from bad to worse. If they find one, Johanna, the front line of Pleb2Pro, is taken on out. Muradin jumping across the brush. Going to utilize that third wind at level 1 for instant regeneration. And he is playing on the flank. He must have saw what Fat94 did in game number 2 before. because he is looking to bait out resources and just slow down the advancement of Pleb2Pro.
And you can already see Hacky with that Abathur hat, how much more of a nuisance he's able to become. He's just really just left to his own resources, and even Pleb2Pro, they don't really have much going for them. The blind tried to come out to stall really a lot of that damage, but the parting gift was enough to get that first kill. And in terms of this, if this keeps up, I'm going to be worried for Pleb2Pro, because as you said, Skinny, when you do have that Abathur, it's all about winning the team fights. There's not even a fifth body there. Yes, he's got the symbiote in the hat, but apart from that, really, you need to be winning these team fights. You need to take advantage of that. Otherwise, Abathur's just soaking and getting even more experience the longer that you try to fight for these tributes.
So the first time for these teams to collide didn't result in any kills for Pleb2Pro. But the alarm bells don't need to ring just yet. Obviously, there's a lot more for them to have to worry about. As soon as level 10 comes online, that's really when things start to get angsty. Or especially around those boss pits. So Pleb2Pro will be looking to do their best to soak the lanes and not give away as many tributes as possible. If they lose this next one, it does put them in a bit of a scary situation, because the next one will be very close to level 10. And that's when a snowball can take place. You hit 10, you get kills, you get a curse as well, and then suddenly you find yourself 2 levels down.
Exactly right, and KVA, he just jumps in now, just getting amongst it. And also, we've got Mitzi off on Crazy. He's known out to be the first kill right there.
Oh, but the response is good. Physics finds his moment, and Swift strikes in for victory. A 1-for-1 trade, and also Moops sneaks down in a desirable position, picks up the tribute, and really gets a good trade across from Pleb2Pro.
That was actually a darn good trade. The ability to get that kill and then also get the tribute, that was really nicely done by them, and just also keeps them in. They are still keeping up for that experience as well. Any chance that the Abathur has as well, we've got that mule being picked up, so damaged onto the forts, it needs to be decisive, otherwise you'll see Abathur just slug his way across and start to heal these structures back up and make it harder to really get any experience advantage or vision advantage from claiming these structures.
You just saw it expire in the bottom lane, so be waiting for that 60-second cooldown to be up available again. Utilizing that in both mid and top lane, where towers have taken some structural damage. But this next tribute, spawning bottom right, in a favorable position for Crimson. And they are ever so slightly closer to level 10, so if they can find some XP, one minion wave will do it. And this minion wave right here is the perfect place to do it. But screw the minion wave, let's just get a kill and make that level 10 matter. They hit 10, their opponents hit 10 too, but 4v5, I think I know which I prefer.
I love that call made by Crimson. I saw them setting up for it as well. They saw 2 members in that middle lane. They were waiting in the bush. They also do have the mines to give them that vision. So very, very handy on a map like Cursed Hollow, where really you just want to know where your opponents are. So with that pick as well, Pleb2Pro, they couldn't contest that tribute and goes over for free to Crimson, who can also still push in with the last of that Siege Giant in the bottom lane.
Giants are completed and cleared out by Pleb2Pro there in the bottom lane. But very healthy in the top lane. Going to force Jesmes to respond. Lots of mines there in case that minion wave to get any further. But still, the XP remains even. At this stage here, both these teams playing extremely passive, waiting for not only the curse, but waiting for that first team to make a move. No decisive level 10 picked up. You tend to see sometimes when teams have a very strong early game, and if they can hit 10, at least a 1 level lead above their opponents, straight for the boss. Instantly for the boss, and abusing the fact that they have so much control on the map. We didn't see it this time around, and I don't think we're going to see it for such a long time. Both these teams, actually, no, sorry. Crimson's boss potential is actually really weak in comparison to Pleb2Pro, so Crimson are going to be very scared.
I'll tell you who is scared though. Firstly, he's trying to just run for his life in that top lane. Luckily, we did have Physics there trying to take the blow, and then Hacky comes in to secure the deal. It didn't even matter. He wasn't able to escape. Big pulse bomb now onto Moves, who's going to be trapped and taken out for free. Critical there for Pleb2Pro. They did not want to give up their tribute for free, because now they're going to be cursed, and that's going to be even more of an advantage now that Crimson can start to get.
Crimson juking and jiving as Hacky jumps in, and he jumps out and he gets the kill, he gets the shield, and he gets a divine one at that. And now they get the curse, and this is when things start to get scary. You've got a global, and you have the ability to take down as many structures as possible. How do Crimson play this one? Are you going to leave Blaze up in the top lane to solo clear? Very tanky, very beefy. Not the easiest ganking target. 3-man squads of a tank, a healer, and a tracer clear out mid lane, whilst Jeu on Abathur is left to his own devices. So playing it a little bit like Infernal Shrines, when you split those members apart, get as much XP as possible to accelerate your ability to just close out this game.
Yep, it's exactly like Tomb as well, where you can make sure you focus your attention onto one lane, but hold the phone, KVA, just soaking up all that damage.
Mid Dwarven Strike, and he gets locked in place, but maybe Physics is in a spot of it. Haki jumps in and says, thank you very much. Recalls out. The postal delivery is complete with a double kill for the scoreboard. And here comes Jesmiz with the drive-by. Jet Propulsion doesn't connect, but the oil spill is there to lock you in place. And KVA is not done with that. He wants more. He's chasing on his own. The Muradin man himself with a hat, with a stomp, and a clap. Oh boy. Crimson finding a triple kill, and instantly the boss call was made.
All that's left to do is a hop, skip, and a jump, Skimmy. Muradin's doing the dance right there. KVA, not a care in the world, especially when empowered by that Abathur. And as you said, the boss call, so easily done because they have the numbers advantage and they're right there. Yes, you said they do have that weak boss potential, but it doesn't even matter when you get the kills. What I'm really noticing from Crimson as well, these fights, they're very short and sharp, and Haki, he's really making sure that he's paying attention to when members are vulnerable. Once, say, a teleport has been used or a deflect, say on the Genji, he knows that's his time to strike, and really there's nothing that we can see coming out in response from Pleb2Pro. They're really just struggling to handle it.
Absolutely, and he has to. I mean, he is the sole reason that these teams, or that Crimson will win these team fights. The major damage component, especially when that clone is down, he has to be on his A game, scouting out that information, the communication between all these members there to know what is up and what is available. As a 2-level lead has been acquired as a result of that curse. Instantly, KVA walks on in, but 7-side strike gets interrupted by 3 members collapsing in place. KVA going to fall on down. Divine Shield is there as they pop into the bunker. 25 armor for the both of them, but they're fighting in a choke spot, and this is so good for Pleb2Pro. If they could just connect with some kills, they find place to start things off, and the onslaught, the reset potential, is it enough? As Haki turns the tide and runs it down to pick up Sonya. Oh, but there's turnaround, instantly punished because there's no recall. And it is explosive around that one shrub, the old shoehorn, as members are falling down like nobody's business.
Skibby, this was supposed to go in Pleb2Pro's favor, and that's going to be a full team wipe confirmed right there by Shadow. Picking up the killing blows of 3 right there. This Uther, he's there for his team. They get the tribute as well for free, and they got the reset, Pleb2Pro, but they still just couldn't handle the tanks. Look at that replay right there as well. You can see it happening. Members dropping so low. KVA, once you still have the tanks, Abathur is there and he's saying, thank you. These tanks are never going to die. You don't have enough to take them down, even with your burst.
It's going to jump on in here, and it's fantastic. Actually had to try and isolate things out, but then the members of Crimson file on through with a 3-man split, forcing their 7-sided strike not to find as much value as it would have liked otherwise. The bunker is well timed, but in a spot like this, easy lineup for both Genji and for Li Ming. And you saw it come through just like that. Firstly jumps in and goes, uh-oh, maybe not what I wanted to do in the end at all. And he falls on down, but just the complete control, the isolation, it comes in waves for Pleb2Pro, right? They come in with the cooldowns, and then they have to wait. They had to come in with the cooldowns, and Crimson were methodical in their ability to say, you are down, that window is passed, our time to turn things around.
It was, Skimmy, and turn things around, they really did. They made it work for them so well. Another fight breaking out here. It's Konya who's dropping low. 7-side strike comes out in response.
Haki! He is so low! And this is the best chance. This is the best chance that Pleb2Pro had in this game. Yet they don't even have 16, but they've taken out a crucial component of the Mind Freak, or the Mind Freak, the Crimson. I don't even know what I'm saying right now because people are dying!
That's another kill now. And you can already see, in a much healthier state, to get that kill onto Haki, it just really limited the damage output coming their way. And now they can get a boss of their own. Moves, he's trying to heal his team, but this is where Karazin, as I said, with the dive, with the damage coming out, his heals can be a little bit lackluster, so it'll take a little bit of time to heal his team back up to full health.
Fantastic response there from Pleb2Pro, as it's been looking pretty scary all game. 5 kills to 14. But they bite back, and they bite back damn hard. No 16, but it did not bother them. They find the kill, and with a composition like this, shred the enemy's boss. Easy pickup, easy denial. But bottom lane, KVA is like, well, if I can't make things work, then I'm going to be cheeky, and I'm going to get my Sylvanas cosplay pajamas on. I'm going for that keep.
That's exactly what he's doing. He saw a couple of members up top, and that's exactly what I was going to say. Take a look at this bottom lane. So gets the keep, manages to still find some value. And this is really where we start to see a couple of teams where they can still get some value. He knows that it will still be difficult for Pleb2Pro to really finish and push into this. If we see them lose a member, though, however, on the side of Crimson, this could get ugly for them.
Pleb2Pro have to all in right now. They have to all in, because if they don't, Azure can just go in for that curse and end the game with a tribute curse. They're going to look to try and force the spike around. Just miss with a 3-man jet propulsion, locking all these members in place. Divine Shield is good, but it's not looking good for Pleb2Pro. It's crucial members have fallen on down. Moves the first to go, firstly spinning to win, buying himself precious seconds with that life leech. Physic's going to use the Reflect to try and take down Hacky, but it's just not going to be enough. One by one, they fall. And like soldiers, they put up an honorable defense. But Physics is going to be the fourth casualty as Mitzi manages to run away. Crimson with the slug can push, leave him to burrow in. That's what he does. That's going to be a curse. And I damn well assure that this is going to be GG for Crimson.
Crimson very decisively. They forced out that team fight. That play by KVA right there to put the pressure onto that bottom key and really just forced Pleb2Pro to do a very, very sloppy team fight. Yes, they had to make something happen, but the cooldowns were burned a little too early with not really maximizing any of the results. You can see Crimson, they immediately came back. Oops, is going to fall there. Immediately pulled back and then re-engaged once all the heroics were burned.
Game number 1 going to Crimson on Cursed Hollow in a very exciting matchup. Reset comp up against Tracer Hypercarry. Tracer Hypercarry proved to be too strong. The resets weren't able to be found. A scoreboard definitely shows that with 5 kills to 19. And that is the biggest glaring weakness of a reset comp. If you can't find those resets, nothing is going to happen. It's a very forgiving comp in that you can definitely chuck out those skills, but it's punishable with the same sentiment.
It is, and really, they got the resets, yes, but look at their composition. All right, cool, we kill Hacky. All right, who are we going to go on to next? We've got a Blaze, we have a Murden, we have an Uther. They all got armor and health for days and sustain. Crap, we just still don't have enough damage to try and take them down because we've got the Genji, because we've got the Li Ming. It's all in on that burst. Really, the sustained damage is lacking out, and you really just have firstly on that Sonya to take care of that. So yeah, they had moments of Pleb2Pro where they were able to get, once they got that really early kill onto Hacky with no damage being traded, that's the dream team fight. But Hacky was always going to play very, very elusive.
Do you argue that the Rhaegar ban should have been a Nufa? Like, do you feel like the same effect would have happened if Rhaegar had been there? Because I discussed during the draft that, Shadow would have been so damn on point with his, his heals to allow his members to get the armor. I feel like that definitely played a major factor to elaborate basically your point from before.
Oh, 100%. I reckon if they had banned that Uther instead, yes, Rhaegar, I know why. They banned him, probably looking at that Blaze and the Muradin, same reasons, but you can focus down the Rhaegar. He's incredibly squishy. You focus down the Uther, what's going to happen? The Divine Shield just be used on himself. And really, we saw because of the protection coming out from the front line, as well as the hat from Abathur, Hacky didn't really even need the Divine Shield half the time anyway. It was just going on to tanks. It was
just ensuring that tanks survived and just kept it being a menace. But that's game 1 on the reps. We will bring you game number 2 right after this break, so don't go anywhere. We'll see you in 3.